and welcome to the Hoop Heads Podcast. It's Mike Linsing here with my co-host. What are you doing there?
What do you mean? What am I
I
doing?
mean, there's a lot of noise there.
I didn't do anything.
You grabbed the camera or something. Like you went like this. Whatever you did, it was like a big giant static ball in my ear.
Oh, sorry. I was trying to adjust it so the light wasn't
Okay.
shining in your eyes, Mike.
Oh, it's all right.
Just
It's
start
all
it
good.
again. Just start it again.
Yeah,
Just start it
it's
again,
all
and
right.
then you cut
I
this part
will.
out.
I will. It's all good. Hey, how you doing out there, YouTube? Hello and welcome to the Hoop Heads Podcast. It's Mike Linsing here with my co-host Jason Suckle tonight. We were hoping to jump on and have a happy podcast, but
Oh, I'm gonna be happy.
unfortunately,
I'm gonna be happy, Mike. I'm gonna look at the positive side of things here.
okay, I'll let you start then.
Okay.
Celtics beat the Cavs tonight, 120 to 117. You give me the positives, and then I'll come in
The
as
positives are this: the Cavs
Debbie
had no
Downer.
business. The Cavs had no business in being in this game. If the Celtics are going to win plus 39 on the 3-point line. There's no business the Cavs should be. There's no way the Cavs should be in this game. There's no way the Cavs should be in this game when you're sitting. I mean, four of your theoretical key guys are on the floor. I mean, Strus hasn't been on the floor all season, obviously. Um, Wade out, Okoro out, and who was the other person that was out?
Dean Wade.
I said Wade, Okoro. Oh, Levert. Levert's the other guy.
Levert. Yeah,
Levert.
sorry.
Okay, so like Garland was pitiful. Okay, Garland was pitiful tonight. His first bad game of the year. True or false?
I
I
mean,
mean,
his first horrendous game. He was horrendous. He
yeah,
was beyond horrendous. 3 for 21.
you probably could have gone 3 for 21 tonight,
That
Mike.
was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. I mean, he
Well,
missed so many. I mean, it was ridiculous. That performance was
yeah,
terrible.
and I don't know. Like, I understand. Like, we could, but this like they were in the game. They made a chance at the end. They were, despite falling down by 21, clawing back into the game. I gave him a lot of crap last year, but Niang actually been good this year, Mike. I can't believe I'm saying that. Like he's been what we had signed up for last year, 100%. I'm not expecting him to have 20-point nights. I'm not expecting him to, but he's spacing the floor. He's getting mismatches, and his around the basket work that he makes those shots. I don't exactly know how. Sometimes they go in the basket. They go in the basket. Okay, but I mean, the Celtics made what 23 threes, 24 threes. That
22 for 41.
okay, like you're gonna have that, and they listen. I'm not afraid of the Celtics. You just beat the Cavs when Garland played the arguably as bad as he could have played, and you only won by 3 points. And I want to point out that the NBA Cup does not take into effect head to head in the tiebreakers. So that bucket at the end of the game, as inconsequential as it may seem, although the Celtics were favored by 4 points tonight, Mike. Did you know that one?
No, I did not.
The Celtics were favored by 4 points at 4 o'clock. I don't know if the line moved at all. So that bucket pushed it to 3. So just putting it out there, you Vegas people, you. Um, but that right now we are ahead of the Celtics in the NBA Cup, even though the Celtics beat us because of point differential.
But didn't the Celtics lose by one?
Yeah, and we won by 18.
Oh, I guess you're right. Yeah, I guess you're right. I didn't think about
So
that.
we're plus 15 right now, and they are plus 2. So right now we are ahead of them, regardless of the outcome. Now, obviously, if we beat the Hawks, it's going to probably become moot because the Wizards are not. I mean, they're not going to lose we're not going to lose to the Wizards. I don't think we should lose to the Hawks. I think if we still win this run, I think we're still going to get it anyways in the spot. So yeah, they have to run the slate. There's no way around it. They got because there's no way the Celtics are going to lose to the Wizards. I don't see that happening. But anyways, what I'm saying is this. I'm going to look at it from the positive light, and the positive light is you had the worst Garland game. You had 4 pieces out. You had to start Sam Merrill, Mike, in this game. The Celtics could have easily just – I mean, this is what the problem is for the Celtics. They become too complacent. They're up 21 points, and they just stopped. They just don't have that – I don't want to say killer instinct. I still – like there were times in the playoffs last year when we didn't have Mitchell that they were up by a lot, and then we clawed back into the games. This is the kind of thing that I'm saying. Like, I know that they're still the favorites, and they are the defending champions, and they did win the championship last year. But I'm just, after watching the game and seeing us claw back into the game and seeing, obviously we made some changes at halftime, and that worked. And we just put ourselves in too deep of a hole. Garland played. I mean, we got a little. I thought we took care of the basketball pretty nicely. I thought, we just didn't shoot the ball well. I mean, even Mitchell was terrible from behind the arc. He was 2 for 9 or 3 for maybe. He made a few late ones. So
3
I know.
11.
Yeah, at one point I knew he was 2 for 9. So he made 1 3. Oh, yeah, and then he missed that last one that he took. But ultimately, I'm not afraid of the Celtics. I'm saying it right now. I'm not. Do I think they're probably still the favorite? Yes, I probably think they're still a favorite. Are they? But I think what you saw tonight is very likely the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm saying that right now. I just don't see. I don't.
Who else? It earlier. You said it already. You already said it in our preview pod.
This is the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, who else is it going to be at this point? No one in the East is good. Okay. I mean, and we're going to get there. We're going to get there. By the way, who else isn't good? Your NBA totals, baby. Let's go. The tank machine is on. I got you by 11 right now.
11?
Yeah. God. 132, 121.
Falling apart, man.
All right.
Philly's got to start winning some games.
Well, maybe that players only meeting will help that.
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
I don't think it was a players only meeting. I think actually the coaches sat in on a meeting. I think it was a team meeting, and Maxey called him out. Oh man, I want the leaked video of that. That's what I want. I don't want, we got to witness the worst match of boxing I've ever seen in my life on Friday. Thanks, Netflix. The only thing I got out of that was seeing Mike Tyson's bare behind. Okay.
Wait, are we talking about the Tyson fight now before we finish our Cavs Celtics?
Yeah, well, listen, I'm just saying. We got that's what Netflix.
Okay. How excited? First of all, okay. So you're too young to even remember Mike Tyson, right? I
mean, I was born in '86, Mike. It's literally that his peak was when I was born. Okay. Yeah. But I mean. So I still will. I will say this though. It was like 90. What year did he bite? Was that 97? Sounds about right. I feel like I was in 5th grade.
Okay.
When that happened, and I remember hearing about it at school or something. And or it was at school, or I mean, I don't remember if that was a summer fight or it could have very well. But it very well could have been if it wasn't at school. It could have very well, if it was a summer, it very well could have been a topic at Head Start basketball camp. I just remember hearing I remember someone telling me that Mike Tyson ate Evander Holyfield's ear, like straight up. Someone said he put someone obviously it's just, you got to remember you're hanging around 5th graders, 4th graders, and they're like he was eating it and it looked like it had ketchup on it.
Nice, there you go.
So anyway, sorry. So what I was really saying was that's what Netflix put on the air, but I would much rather have a video of the Sixers player the meeting, and I wanted that. Shams, come on, man, you are now the ESPN insider who broke this information. I want the video of this meeting, please. We got the video of Jordan Poole getting clocked by Draymond Green. Let's make it happen. TMZ, Philadelphia 76ers, someone, please. All right. Sorry, that was your Cavs takes, Mike. Go.
You went in a million different directions there. I don't even know what to respond to. All right, so look, let me start by just saying I hate the Celtics. I continue to hate the Celtics. I can't stand watching them play. Like tonight cemented it even more. This particular version of the Boston Celtics, when you hear about or when you hear people talking about, man, I'm not sure if the league is going in the right direction with all the threes. Just watching Boston just launch three after three after three. And granted, they shot the lights out in the first half. They weren't nearly as good in the second half, but it seemed like every time they needed a big shot, it was just they were banging home a three. I don't find the way that they play to be aesthetically pleasing in any way, shape, or form. So that's number one. Number two, you're not going to beat them when they make 22 threes and they shoot 53% from 3-point line. You're just not going to beat them in that particular scenario unless somehow you can match that type of 3-point production, which obviously the Cavs only made 10 tonight. They weren't able to do. I mean, you've got Al Horford 4 for 5, Drew Holiday 3 for 4, Derek White 4 for 7, Jason Tatum 6 for 10, Peyton Pritchard 3 for 6. I mean, it was ridiculous. And part of that is the Cavs got to do a better job. A lot of those were wide open, especially in the first half. It felt like the Cavs weren't getting to shooters the way that they needed to get to shooters. But Al Horford, I'm sure this is going to be his career high or his season high in point total for the
Well,
entire
I mean,
season
he
at
they said
20.
when they said he was 2 of 3 from the line coming into
Yeah,
the
two for
game.
four. Yeah. So Big Al's not spending a lot of time in the paint, but he poured in 20 tonight against the Cavs, which is, I mean, again, it's just ridiculous. So there's there's the outlier of a shooting night, and there's just the style of play that Boston has, just shooting threes over and over and over and over and over again. And look, at some point, I guess I go back and forth in terms of do we need to do something to cut down on the threes? And obviously, this look, the skill level of these guys, the ability to shoot the ball across the league is just, I mean, it's incredible. The shooting is unreal compared to what you would see if you went back and you watched games 20 years ago. It's not anywhere near in terms of what guys can do shooting the basketball today. So I completely understand why teams
Mike, how old
orient.
would you say Al Horford is?
Al Horford's 38, I believe,
He
if
is
I'm not
literally
mistaken.
3 months older than I am, but I feel like I look way younger than Al Horford does.
Okay,
I
well,
don't
there you go.
I don't know if you agree with that statement. I
I don't know. I don't think Al Horford looks super old. I mean, maybe if you watch him move, he looks kind of old. But look, Al Horford should not be scoring 20 points in an NBA game at any point during this season. He just should not. I'm sorry. There's no possible way. Like there was one time, I think it
he
was in the
well
first
he had
no, it
he
was in the
had
second
he
half, I
had
think.
he had 18 in the last game, like, so this is not an aberration.
You know, it is, man. It is, believe me. But there was one time where Horford had the like it got kicked out to him and Mobley was closing out and Mobley started to like hesitate, like Horford was going to drive by him. And I was like, he's only going to launch a three. Like, why are you coming out and closing out on him at and trying to worry that he's going to put the ball on the floor and go past you? He's just not. So look, I mean, I don't know. I just can't. I can't stand watching the Celtics because they're either shooting threes. You had the Jalen Brown just backing down, backing down, backing down, backing down, backing down, and shooting over top of people. Look, the Celtics shot the ball
Was
incredibly
that a
well. You're
flagrant
not. You're.
foul? Was it a flagrant foul? Should they call it? Should they have at least looked at that? The Tatum play.
I mean, I think you have to look at it. I'm not sure it was a flagrant foul. I mean, it's just a case of Mitchell's coming hard one way. Tatum is. I'm not sure exactly what he was doing, but I don't think he was coming up with the intention that he was trying to foul him. But I mean, clearly, the contact with Donovan's jaw and Tatum's shoulder was, I don't know if it, again, I don't think there was intent there. So hard to say that that was a flagrant. And I understand
Well, there doesn't
why
have to be
they,
intent with. There doesn't have to be intent with flagrants now, Mike. It's
yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't have called it a flagrant. I mean, it looked bad because but the way Mitchell was coming off the screen and just the way that they just met at the wrong place, wrong time. So I don't think
you're a
that was not,
nicer person than me.
that was not egregious. I mean, don't get me wrong. As a Cavs fan, I would have loved for them to review it and put Mitchell at the line and give the Cavs the ball back, and it would have given us a chance to maybe tie the game. But I think in that case, I'm not sure that that was I'm not sure that that would have been the appropriate call. I did think the Cavs got a pretty fair whistle. If not, I almost thought that they had a more favorable whistle than the Celtics in a lot of cases. Neither team went to the line a ton, but I thought there were several calls that could have gone against the Cavs where they just kind of let things go and felt like the Cavs got the better of the officiating actually during that game. But I don't know. The Celtics just every time I watch them, I just I don't know. I mean, you could tell the
Okay,
disdain
so
in
here's
my
a
voice. So
question.
you're
So here's your
okay.
question.
Okay.
To your points, you've made it a clear you were never during the Cavs run. You were not a huge fan of the Warriors. Who do you hate more, the Golden State Warriors of LeBron's second run or the Boston Celtics?
Ooh,
Because
that's
the
a tough
lifelong
one. I mean,
is the
as a
Boston's a
franchise,
lifelong hate, right? Boston's
yeah.
a
Oh yeah.
lifelong
Oh
hate.
yeah. Boston is a lifelong hate. I think Boston has to be ahead of the Warriors. If I look at, I mean, in the moment, obviously the stakes were very high when the Cavs were competing with the Warriors. My Celtics hate. I mean, yeah, if the Cavs are playing them in the playoffs, it's pretty high. But generally speaking, I'm going to hate the Celtics no matter what series they're playing or who they're playing against. Like, I root for the Celtics to lose every single time they play. Whereas Golden State, I've said it before that when the Warriors were on the rise before they started meeting up with the Cavs, just watching Steph Curry was such a joy. And because of the way he moved without the ball and the way that he plays. And I think if you look at the Warriors style of play, like I can hate it in the moment when they're playing against the Cavs, but all through the course of their run, they played the game the right way with the ball moving and getting the ball to shooters and playing together and being a team. And not that Boston doesn't. Look, Boston does a really good job of moving the ball. I just I would say my hate for Boston is probably stronger than my hate for the Warriors because my Warriors hate was specific to that particular moment in time. And like I said, they're honestly, I mean, during that run, I don't know if hated Steph Curry was the operative way to say it. More, I hated the fact that you just knew that he was going to make shots when you didn't want him to, and so I think my hatred for the Celtics is stronger than it is for the Warriors, just because again, as you said, it's been a lifelong hate. So let me just talk positives for the Cavs tonight. Obviously, we already covered Garland. I mean, 3 for 21 is a ridiculous stat line, and he was terrible, but he's been good this season. So you can excuse it and just say, he had a bad game. I do think that Boston hunted him on defense, which gets back to a point that I've made over and over again that two small guards in the backcourt definitely open you up to the Celtics being able to play bully ball. It felt like whoever Garland was guarding, they just brought that guy up to screen, and then either Tatum or Jaylen Brown just went to work on Garland. So that was, I think, a challenge. I'm not saying Garland didn't compete and make them work. And obviously, Boston was more effective in the first half than they were in the second when they were hunting Garland a lot more. But I do think that come playoff time against a team like the Celtics, the two small guards in the backcourt is a challenge. At the same time, I think what you saw tonight is that pretty much whenever Evan Mobley was on one of either Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum, other than the one head fake and at the end of the quarter where Mobley closed out on Tatum and thought he was going to take the jumper, and Tatum went around him and got the dunk. Other than that, I thought Mobley pretty much locked down anybody that he defended. I mean, this first half, he was all over the place. He was guarding multiple guys. He was forcing misses at the rim. That was as good of a defensive performance all over the floor from Evan Mobley as I think I've seen at any point. And then offensively, he was very good again as well. I do think that he still has a ways to go to finishing super strong. Like the one time he had Peyton Pritchard down in the post, and I think Stan Van Gundy said, "Oh, that's a well that jump hook. It's so soft." And like Peyton Pritchard is like 6 feet tall, and Evan Mobley is 7 feet tall with a huge wingspan. He should be able to shoot a jump hook over the 6 foot Peyton Pritchard when he catches the ball 4 feet from the basket. But Mobley's shown much more of a touch. He definitely is handling the ball better. You see him doing things and getting better at what you're going to need him to do if the Cavs are going to get where they want to go. So I thought Mobley's performance was very encouraging. I thought that, and this is a question that I wonder about, is when Craig Porter Jr. played last year, he was very, very good. And he wasn't afraid of the moment. And the same thing tonight, hit three threes. And I just felt like made he just made a lot of good plays, a lot of smart plays in the right place defensively. And look, the Cavs, when you start looking at the four guys that they sat, plus the guys that they played, as you said, Bang Bang George Niang has been far, far better this year than he was last year. I think this year is much more indicative of what they hoped they were going to get when they signed him. Ty Jerome has been, I would say, borderline incredible for the Cavs to this point, and he was good again tonight. And then you think about, like I said, those four guys that sat out, and now you're talking about that's a 12-man. Are we going to the Steve Kerr 12-man rotation? It's almost like on any given night, depending on what you need, guys could get DNPs, coach's decision, and then other guys could play 25 or 30 minutes depending on the matchup or depending on who's going well. But I feel like Craig Porter Jr., I feel like there's got to be a spot for him somewhere. I mean, he just does so many things well. He can shoot it. He goes to the basket. He's athletic. I think he can defend. He's good. I think you got to find minutes for him. And Ty Jerome, like I said, has been excellent all season. He was really good tonight. He gets to the basket. He's got that deceleration step and just finishes in weird ways that I don't think guys are expecting. So I thought the Cavs bench, everybody on the bench had a positive plus minus. Everybody in the starting lineup had a negative one. So kudos to those three guys that were coming in and trying to get things done. I thought we went to a little bit of Mitchell hero ball in the last 4 minutes where I don't know if you sensed this or saw this or felt this, but every time the Cavs got within two or three, they just couldn't put it over the top. There was one possession where I think Mitchell missed two shots, and I think Garland maybe missed the other one where they had a chance to cut it to two or to tie it, and just could never get up over the hump. And obviously, you get down 21 to the defending champions, it makes it really hard to be able to come back. But it felt like
the only thing
like
I'm going to say, I'm going to refute.
The game was there for the Cavs to win, and that's what's
The only,
disappointing is despite all that, the game was there for them to win.
the only thing I think of is, so stayed up with me to watch the fourth quarter, and we're sitting here watching, and I said the Cavs have to score here, or the game's over. And Mitchell scored, and then I said the next possession, the Cavs got to score here, or the game is over. There's like 2.5 minutes left, and I feel like Garland took 3 shots on a possession and missed all 3 shots. And the play that comes back to me is that layup that he was on the right side of the basket, that he for some reason decided he was going to use his left hand. It got blocked, and then that
was weird.
Celtics turned to transition and hit that 3. Peyton Pritchard, I think, hit the 3 in that transition play. I think that was the backbreaker. And I know there was still like 4 minutes left, but that got him. I think it was at the time 100 when that happened. And I said it's going to be tough. Like that's a 5-point swing right there. It should have been 104, 102, but instead it's 107, 100. And I just said I felt like that was a backbreaker play. And obviously there were other plays that happened, but I feel like that was what kind of sealed the doom for the game. I don't know. But once again, I'm super encouraged. Like, they've continued to play well. Overall, this game I still think they played all right considering how terrible Garland played tonight. Okay. But you think back, the other night, I know they're playing Charlotte, who's not that good, but you rest Donovan Mitchell on a day, and that's a game. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it a lot. The game that JB Bickerstaff's Cavs for. Okay. And LaMelo Ball, LaMelo still played well, which, by the way, did you see that they were losing tonight? And I don't know exactly what happened, but he got benched with 3:48 left and didn't play the rest of the game, and they lost by 1. And LaMelo Ball leads the NBA in clutch scoring. So I don't know what got him benched, but that's a bizarre twist of thing. I don't know, whatever. But the other thing I will take Kenny Atkinson owning owning this, because instead of him blaming someone else and whoever, he's owning it. This was his comments in the press conference today following the game. Mike, you ready? Here you go.
Ready.
We have a lot to store in the bank, a lot of stuff we can improve on. I could have been better prepared on both ends of the ball. Credit to them. We'll have another shot at them soon. That's a part of the strategy missed on my part. We did not get Evan Mobley involved in the first half. We got to keep looking at that. The density of our schedule has been enormous, and Darius Garland's rolled it out every night. He's played unbelievable. I think he hit a wall tonight. He's been going really hard for us in the first stretch of the schedule, and we're not gonna blame him for the loss. It's a team effort. Not once did he say
Guys
anything
didn't come
to
through.
agree
Yeah.
with.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I I give him a lot of credit. I think he's doing a good job. It'll be interesting. Obviously, tomorrow they're playing the Pelicans. I think I'll be at the game, um, and it's gonna be interesting to see. Like, I would have to imagine if those guys didn't play tonight, are they going to play tomorrow? I mean, if Okoro didn't play tonight, if Levert didn't play tonight, like, are they playing tomorrow? Is Garland getting the day off tomorrow? Is
Yeah.
Mitchell?
Maybe
Is
you have
Mitchell?
those guys sit so one or two of the starters can sit down and think you can beat the skeleton crew that is the New Orleans
Or and
Pelicans.
like and maybe Mitchell. I mean, I don't want to say that he has a concussion or something, but I mean, he got lit up at the end of the game. Is he going to sit another game here? I bet you Mitchell won't want to sit, but could they possibly sit him because of the contact? And they don't play again till Saturday, so you could theoretically get him 3 days off. I think they don't play till Saturday, right? Is it Saturday they play next? I think.
Let me look. I'm going to tell
I
you.
think
One
because I
second.
feel like this is going to be like you know I feel like they play Saturday. I think tomorrow, and it may even be Sunday.
Why is it not showing? Why am I not seeing it?
My 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 phone's been being slow here.
Because ESPN doesn't give you the full schedule unless you click on the full
Friday? No,
schedule.
they
so
don't play till Sunday, Mike. So
Sunday,
you could
yeah.
get you sit Donovan, or you sit.
Yeah, it's a nice break. Well, they've played the most
They've hit the
games I think in the league. Yeah.
100%. They've
So
played the most games for sure.
it should be. Look, I mean, they're going to lose at some point. It's disappointing to lose this one just again because it's the Celtics and you want to be able to beat them and beat the defending champs and sort of solidify and uh, cast in stone the 15-0 start. But you're going to play Boston again in 2 weeks, and in the meantime, hopefully you get fat on New Orleans, Toronto, and then 2 Atlanta games. Although Atlanta's been frisky, I think I don't know if we want to transition out of the Cavs. I'm trying to think if I had any more thoughts that I wanted to share before we move on to any other topics. Look, I mean, it was a disappointing loss. You're gonna have a really hard time beating Boston when they shoot the ball that well, and I do think that Boston, and this is I guess the last point I'll make on the Celtics is this has kind of been their MO. You mentioned it about giving up leads and the things that they kind of suffered through last year, both in the regular season and to some degree in the playoffs. Part of that is just the fact that when you hoist that many threes, you always hear the word variance, right? Their variance is very high. And if they make 22 threes in a game, you're going to have to shoot the ball really, really well to hang with them. And if they shoot 41 threes and they only make 12, then the game looks a lot different. And that's what we saw in the second half, right? The threes that were going in the first half didn't go in the same rate in the second half. And that made all the difference. The Cavs were able to make a run and get back in the game. And I think that I like the diversity of the Cavs offense. I think, look, threes, if you're going to shoot them that well, they're going to carry you to a lot of wins. But I also think that it's harder to be that consistent. Now, granted, part of the Cavs' great start has been that they've led the league in 3-point percentage and field goal percentage throughout the first part of the season. But a part of that is with Mobley and Allen, you get so many dunks and easy shots. And again, Mitchell does a great job of getting to the basket, and Garland has been able to make that floater all throughout the time up until today. And I just think that I like the diversity of the Cavs offense. I got a little worried again. I still I thought Mitchell went a little hero bally in the last 5 minutes. I'd still like to see the ball move and see him kind of get to do some other things, but they also were at a point where once they got down, as you said, once they got down seven, it felt like they needed threes and they had to generate something. And Mitchell was the guy that was able to generate. Obviously, normally you might have Garland doing some things as he's done in previous games this year, but tonight tonight was not Darius's night. So it is what it is. And the Cavs will move on. Like I said, they should be able to get fat on these next 4 games and then come back and have another tussle with the Celtics and see what happens. So 15-0 start, second best start in NBA history, and we'll see what that portends for the rest of the season. It's certainly, when you look at the rest of the Eastern Conference, if this team can stay healthy, I mean, you got to believe that they're going to have a good chance to at least get the Eastern Conference Finals based on what we've seen so far.
I agree. All right, so we've spent 30 minutes on the Cavs, so we're off to a good start. And Mike Tyson. So we're gonna transition. I mean, I don't know. Do we want to talk? Did I talk enough about the Sixers? Do you want to say anything? 2-11. Do you want to say anything about the Sixers, Mike?
Sure. I'll just give my standard statement. I would not want to have my team dependent upon Joel Embiid. I think that for whatever reason, whether it's Embiid, whether it's him being a product of the process, whatever it is, I just don't think that whether it's his health, whether it's his mental toughness, whether it's just who he is, I don't think you're going to be able to build a championship team with Joel Embiid at the center of it anymore. And it's not surprising that there's some issues there in Philly. Anytime your team's 2-11 and you are expected to be an NBA title contender, I don't care if it's injuries, I don't care what the situation is, things are not going to be all roses and kittens. I mean, they're just not. And so, look, I Philly, they're going to, I don't know if right the ship, but they're not going to finish with a whatever a 18% winning percentage, I would think. But I also don't think that this team is creeping up towards the top of the Eastern Conference standings anytime soon. I mean, they're going to have to scrap and claw just to get into the play-in. And I don't know. I just think, to me, Embiid is a guy that if I'm hitching my wagon to him as my franchise star, I just don't think I'm ever going to get where I want to go. And I've said that numerous times. And I think it's more true today than it's ever been.
Okay. Bucks. Do you want to talk Bucks at all tonight?
Sure, we can talk Bucks. You want to share your thoughts first, or you want me to share mine?
Them losing to Charlotte on the Phantom Foul was classic Doc Rivers, because he had challenged something earlier in the game. It was a terrible challenge earlier in the game. I see the Charlotte. Did you hear the Charlotte announcers?
Yes.
He tripped on his own Pumas, and I got the call. Oh, it was a great call. The Bucks are just, they're clearly bad. I'm willing to say it. They're mediocre. They do not scare me at all. And having the 2 games against them already is huge for us. They're not going to stay healthy. It's just, and you got Doc Rivers as a coach, and I don't know. It's just,
why are you laughing? I mean, here's the Bucks, right? The Bucks bottom line comes down to 2 things. One is this iteration of the Milwaukee Bucks cannot really defend anybody on the perimeter. And Chris Middleton coming back obviously is going to help the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm not sure it helps them coming off of 2 ankle surgeries to be able to defend perimeter players any better. So that's the first part of it, is that they just can't defend anybody. And then the second part of the equation is that when Milwaukee traded for Damian Lillard, every podcast, every article, every analyst, all of us talked about, well, the Dame Giannis pick and roll is basically going to be unstoppable. How do you guard that? How do you match up if you switch, if you drop. Like there's just, in theory, there's really no way to be able to defend those two guys in a pick and roll. And yet we rarely, if ever, see the Dame Giannis pick and roll or the Giannis Dame pick and roll. We just don't see it. It's not a part of the Bucks offense. It wasn't a part of their offense under Adrian Griffin, and it hasn't been a part of their offense under Doc Rivers. I have no idea why. I have not heard anybody that I've listened to, read, that has been able to explain why those two guys aren't involved in more pick and roll action together. Is that a chemistry issue? Is it a those two guys just don't mesh? Is it that they don't want to play together? I have no idea. But it's clear that the chemistry that we thought would eventually develop between Giannis and Dame and make that part of their offense unguardable, it just hasn't materialized. And when that hasn't materialized, it's made the glaring differences between Drew Holiday as your point of attack defender and Dame Lillard as your point of attack of defender even more glaring. It's one thing if you're putting up an unstoppable offense because you have Dame Lillard and your defense suffers, but when your offense really hasn't taken off and then your defense suffers, then you get where Milwaukee's at right now. And the thing with the Bucks is they just don't have really anything that they can do. They've traded away all their first round picks through like 2031. I don't even know if they have any second round picks. They traded 5 second round picks at one point for Jay Crowder. And I think that when you look at Milwaukee, you also have to look at the moves that they made around the fringes and at the back end of the draft. And nothing they've done in those spots has really hit. Like they haven't gotten anybody in the draft that's become even a borderline rotation player. All their late signings and minimum signings and guys they've brought in, nobody has really hit in a big way. They don't have anybody young on the roster that you can say, well, this guy is developing and he's going to become this. I really don't know what happens with the Bucks moving forward. I mean, you could tell me every single scenario in terms of their team building, and I would believe it. You could tell me that they're just going to wait it out until Middleton comes back and see what happens and play out the year. You could tell me that at some point they're going to trade Dame Lillard, although, again, I don't know what the market is for Lillard at this point with what he is, where he's not, at least in Milwaukee, he hasn't been as consistent as he was in his final years in Portland. And then I would even believe it if at some point they start to entertain offers for Giannis, because obviously if Giannis isn't the best player, he's certainly the second or third best player in the league at worst. And I'm guessing there'd be a lot of teams that would line up to be able to want to bring Giannis in. It's just a question of what would Milwaukee want. I think if you're looking at a Giannis trade and you're looking at teams that would have things that they could give up, I think you're looking at probably Oklahoma City and Houston. And both of those teams, if you were to add Giannis in any capacity, those teams suddenly become, not that Oklahoma City isn't already a title contender, but I think Giannis would make a lot of sense there, and I think he'd make a lot of sense in Houston too. But who knows? I don't know what the Bucks' appetite is for trading him.
Yeah, I don't, and they're just kind of in a no-win situation, Mike, is what I'm going to say. They're just not. I mean,
there's no real out for him. I mean, there's not much they can do. There's not much they can do to recreate. I just don't think there's a market for Dame where what you get back for him is going to make them into, you're not going to remake your team and suddenly have a title contender with what you get back from Damian Lillard. And because they don't have any draft picks, what do they do? I mean, how do you get better? You're not going to create a championship team by signing veteran minimum contracts every offseason. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I agree, Mike. All right, shifting our attention to the Western Conference, and then the biggest surprise, Mike. I'm bringing it back. I'm bringing the conversation back, Mike. Bringing it back. Anthony Davis. Right now, it's him and Tatum, right? Candidates right now.
I
It's got to
mean,
be.
I mean, I think it's got to be. I think Jokic has got to be in there, and Giannis has to be in there. But certainly Anthony Davis is right there. I mean, there's no question that he's right there.
I mean, he's been huge. I mean, he's been so good. Last time I checked tonight, he again now they're playing Utah. They're bums. That's a good pick. That was a good pick for your draft. The Utah losses, Mike. That was a good pick.
That
Um,
was solid.
uh, he's last time I saw he was 10 points, 7 rebounds in the first quarter, or 8 points and 7 rebounds, something like that in the first quarter. Listen, I just think that the Lakers are good. You questioned my pick in the middle of the draft. I'm standing my ground that I think they're going to. You don't think they're going to sustain this?
No, it's not sustainable. I don't think so. I mean, okay, I think Anthony Davis, if he stays healthy, do I think what he's doing is sustainable? I think it probably could be. I think that when you look at LeBron and what he's done, if LeBron can stay healthy, I think that's sustainable. I just don't really like the rest of their roster. And
Come on,
I
they
don't know.
got Bronny on their bench.
In the Western Conference, I mean, I just don't see where this team is better than I don't know. I can't I don't know. I can't see it. I don't see them continuing to win at this pace. I mean, okay, so they've currently won 5 in a row, right?
Yeah,
So they've beaten the Sixers, the Raptors, the Grizzlies, who basically have every single guy on their team out right now, the Spurs, and New Orleans, who has nobody. So they've won 5 games in a row, but I would say against what at this point is pretty close to the dregs of the league. And in the Western Conference, you're just eventually you're going to start running into better teams. I just don't think they've had a really, really soft schedule. And I think that their record is a product of that. And I see them coming back down to earth. I still think when it all push comes to shove, I think I don't think they're a legitimate candidate to finish in the top 6. I think they're battling
what?
to I think they're battling to be in the play-in.
Oh, come
They're
on, Mike.
they're
Come
battling to
on.
be in the play-in. Yeah, I'm telling you.
They're going to finish. They're finishing in the top 6. I feel confident.
No,
I
there's no
believe in
way.
you,
There's
JJ
no
Redick.
way. There's no way. There's no way they're finishing in the top 6.
All right, here you want to do
Were they better than?
a Coke
Sure. All right.
first first day of
Camp.
camp
All
drink,
right.
first
Let's do
camp
it.
drink,
Let's do it. Let's
first
do it.
camp drink. The
Let's do it.
Lakers are going to finish in the top 6. Listen, this wouldn't be the first time I'm wrong about the Lakers.
There's no,
Okay.
there's no way they're finishing in the top 6. There's no chance. There's zero chance. Zero chance.
So who do you have finishing ahead of them? Go ahead, tell me. Tell me your 6.
Okay, Oklahoma City is finishing ahead of them.
Yes.
Denver is finishing ahead of them.
Okay. 2.
The Timberwolves are finishing ahead of them.
3.
The Warriors are finishing ahead of them.
I don't think they're sustainable.
That may not be sustainable either, but I think it's more sustainable than the Lakers. The Rockets are finishing ahead of them.
I'm not believing that.
Mavericks are finishing ahead of them.
Maybe.
Sacramento Kings are finishing ahead of them.
I don't know. I don't feel great about that.
Okay.
I mean, De'Aaron Fox is literally an ankle turn away from being weeks.
All right, well, he had 60 and then 49, so I'd say De'Aaron Fox is doing all right. Although he did get stripped by our boy Dyson Daniels. We didn't talk about the Hawks, man, in the Eastern Conference. I think the Hawks may have found something because Daniels is on an Alvin Robertson pace, when it comes to steals. And I think Ricochet he's gonna be okay. And Jalen Johnson's good. I think Atlanta, I don't know, maybe they could figure out a way to ship Trey Young out and get some pieces back for him. I think Atlanta, look, I don't know how good they're going to be or how well they're going to finish, but I think there's at least a path. If I'm a Hawks fan, I'm 100% more excited about the Atlanta Hawks than I was 6 months ago. Let's put it that way. But look, the Lakers, I just don't, I don't like the rest of their roster. I think AD and LeBron, if they stay healthy, are going to continue to play well and put up good numbers. I just think the rest of the roster isn't as good as some of these other teams, and I don't. There's no way they finish in the top six. There's no way.
All right, I'm looking forward to that free high
All
C
right,
orange
there we go. Let's
from
do it.
McDonald's
Let's do it.
in
Let's
the
do it.
first camp day.
All right. So, anything else you want to say about the Lakers?
No, I believe in JJ Redick.
Okay. All right. You may be right. I mean, look, he fits the profile of the kind of coaches that I would like to hire. Somebody who's new, somebody who we don't know if he's good or bad. Maybe he's bad, maybe he's good, and you turn out that it could be that he's a really good coach. And I'd rather hire a guy like that than hire somebody who's a mediocre retread. I think Kenny Atkinson for the Cavs is in a perfect spot, right? He had one job where he did a really good job with Brooklyn. And then for circumstances, I would say beyond his control, he ended up losing his job there. And he was ready to come back and he's got the right roster. And look, he's worked some magic. So I think
Yeah,
those are the two types of coaches that I like. You're getting your second opportunity and or you are a guy who is brand new to the bench getting your first coaching opportunity and we find out if you're good or bad. And so JJ Redick may end up being a very good coach. I just don't think it matters. I don't think their roster is good enough to finish in the top six.
yeah. Okay. What other teams in the West do you want to talk about, Mike? You want to
Man,
talk about
I think
how historically bad the Nuggets are when Jokic isn't playing,
yeah, like they have like what the best they would have the best offense in the history of the league when he's on the floor. It's like 128 or
and
something.
one of the
And when
worst
he
offenses in
and when
the
he's off the floor, they're at like 85 points per 100 possessions. So it's like a difference of what, like 43 points a game when he's on the
yeah
floor, which is, I mean, that's his MVP case. You know, he's leading the league in 3-point percentage, right?
yeah shooting
Yeah.
while shooting only 4 threes a game.
Yeah. I mean, but still, I mean, four
No,
threes a
no,
game for your
no. But
four
I'm saying
threes a
that
game
it's
for
a
your
high, it's a
6'11".
harder. When you're only shooting four, what I'm saying, mathematically speaking, if you're only shooting
Right.
4 threes a
Right.
game, and you,
Yes.
and you're leading the league, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, look, Jokic is just, I mean, I mean, he's just ridiculous. Again, you go to Denver's stat page on ESPN and usually you look across the top with all the different categories and there's a different guy in every one of them. And instead, for Denver, Jokic is the top guy in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. I mean, the guy's just, there's no other way to describe him except he's the best player in the league right now. I mean, he just is. And Denver, the rest of their roster, again, questionable, questionable. But when you have Jokic at the center of it, if they can get Murray back to being 90% of Jamal Murray that we've seen in the past, Denver's going to be fine as they move forward. I mean, I don't think they're a championship team. I don't think they have enough depth, but I think they're still really, really good. I mean, Jokic has been incredible. I mean, he's just been, it's ridiculous how good he's been on the offensive end of the floor. I mean, he's just an offense unto himself. He's so unselfish. He understands the game so well,
Yeah,
and he just makes everybody. He just made there's if you want the definition of a guy who makes everybody around him better. I mean, Jokic is the walking definition of winning basketball when it comes to being able to share the ball and understand how the ball needs to move. I guess the other teams that I wanted to just I mean I already talked a little bit about Sacramento and how good De'Aaron Fox has been. I've been a De'Aaron Fox fan for a while, but you know he puts up 60 and then he puts up 49. I mean the guy just can score, and if he was in a bigger market, he would be a much bigger star and be much more well known. Sacramento's obviously not been healthy because Sabonis has been out and DeRozan's been out and Malik Monk's been out, so they've kind of been scuffling, but they're still above 500. And if you're doing that in the Western Conference, it's good enough for 10th, but it's also, you know, it's also pretty impressive to stay above 500 in the or in the Western Conference, as good as that's been. Minnesota, Randall still has been okay. It's a weird fit. You got Ant leading the league in threes, which I don't think anybody saw coming. I think Minnesota's going to figure it out. I think their talent level is still pretty good. Obviously, the loss of Cat has made them smaller, which I think has affected their defense. But I think eventually, again, I think Cat is addition by subtraction, and Minnesota's going to be fine as the season goes on. Durant's been hurt for Phoenix, so they've lost 4 in a row
Mike,
since he's gone down. What?
San Antonio is beating Oklahoma City by 15 halfway through the fourth quarter.
No Wemby. No Wemby in that game. So
why isn't Wemby playing tonight? Is he resting?
no, he's been out 2 games. He banged knees with your guy Anthony Davis when they played the Lakers,
Oh, I missed that.
and so he's been out
So
for.
so
He was,
so addition by subtraction, San Antonio, or like
I would say probably not. San Antonio,
do you
6 and 8. They're
wait before you don't look at the box score. Who do you
okay.
think's leading San Antonio in points?
Well, I watched the first quarter of this game. So the most impressive guy in the first quarter for the Spurs was Charles Bassey, but he only had 5 points. He was rebounding.
He's at 12 points. Keldon
Charles,
Johnson has 22 points.
okay.
And Harrison
Keldon Johnson's a
Barnes
good
has
player.
20 points.
All right, Keldon Johnson's a good player, man. I mean, he's a
Chris
good. But
Paul's playing like the point guard tonight.
nice.
11
You
points,
know,
11 points, 10 assists.
yeah. Hey, in limited minutes, Chris Paul can still be effective. I mean, your basketball brain doesn't go away. So it's just a matter of can his body, can his whatever 38-year-old body do what he needs it to do? Probably in short stretches, he still, he still can. And then I don't know. There's really, I mean, Houston I think has been, I don't know if a surprise, but Houston just has depth. I mean, they just have so many guys, which is why I think that if there's a team out there that might trade for a Giannis or somebody else who becomes available, I think Houston could put together some pieces that other teams would really want that they might not even miss because they just have so much depth. And I think I think they're going to continue to play. They're going to continue to play well. I'm not sure if there's anybody else that out west that's worth, you know, worth spending any time. The Mavericks have been scuffling, although they're getting well tonight against the shell of the New Orleans Pelicans because they're up like 30 with in the third quarter. So
Yeah. I think the only like uh the Grizzlies. Mike, did you see the video I sent you?
which video? I don't know.
It was the Grizzlies are doing this new thing. They're rapping nursery little kids book. Did you see this video?
I
Little
didn't see
kids
this video.
books to
Okay.
a beat from a rap song, and they rapped the
Okay.
Llama Llama song, one of the Llama
Okay.
Llama books. It's
Okay.
pretty awesome. So you have to check it out.
Okay.
Everybody
I'll have to go
listening,
back.
you have,
I'll have to go back and I'll have to go back and find that one.
yeah, I sent it to you not that long ago on the
Okay.
Twitter,
All right.
the
I'm
X.
gonna have to. I'm gonna have to
Which,
look.
by the way, are we gonna? If are we transitioning to Blue Sky, Mike, eventually here?
I saw that. I saw there's some blue sky stuff. So I'll have to check it. I'll have to check that out. I'll have
All
to
right.
check that out.
I don't have any other NBA takes. Do we want to 2 minutes on the travesty that is the Cleveland Browns? Mike, you
Or do we want to talk Tyson? I didn't get to talk Tyson.
oh, you talk Tyson. I mean that was a terrible fight. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, so here's my Tyson take. So one, it's unbelievable to me that it's the year 2024 and I'm watching a Mike Tyson fight. So that's number one. Number two, I honestly was stunned by how excited I was, like when I woke up that morning to think, hey, it's going to be a Mike Tyson fight. Like it reminded me of prime Mike Tyson in the sense of my anticipation of, hey, it's a Tyson fight tonight. I'm so excited, which I know was completely misplaced, but that's how I felt when I woke up in the morning. I'm like, oh, I'm going to watch it. By the way, I went over to Coach Steve DeBlock's house to watch the fight. So
Oh yeah, was it just you and Steve watching the fight?
just me and Steve. Yeah, the last fight I watched was with Steve. It was Pacquiao Mayweather. So how long ago was that? Like 5 years ago, maybe something like that.
That was pre-COVID, right?
Yeah, it was a while. It was a while ago. Yeah, it was a long time ago. But anyway, um, and then the fight itself obviously was just a travesty to watch Tyson. You're watching him and you're like, okay, he throws a little left jab, and then I don't think he might not have thrown a right hand the whole fight. And, I mean, what are you going to do? Like the guy's 58 years old. I don't expect him to be able to do anything. You kind of felt like he kind of looks like Mike Tyson when you just see him or you see his face, but he just couldn't move and obviously had no chance of ever landing any kind of serious punch. So it was disappointing in the sense of it wasn't a very exciting fight, but the aura or just the anticipation around it for me felt like it was a long time ago when it was a big Mike Tyson fight. So from that standpoint, I guess it gave me at least something. It gave me a little excitement in the day leading up to that I was weirdly excited to watch it, but obviously it turned out to be a letdown. So that is what it is.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I don't really want to spend very very long on the the uh the Browns, but we may as well just lose the rest of our games so we can get a good draft pick, Mike. I mean, there's no point in. I mean, and what's really sad, Mike, is I sat on my couch and watched that whole damn game on Sunday. I did. I sat there and watched it. Why? Why do I feel? Why do I get pulled in? It's like a bit.
This goes to my point, man. This goes to my point. Move the team. Let's sell it. Let it go somewhere else. Give us a whole new franchise, new colors, build the new stadium in Brook Park. Let's put a whole new franchise in there. Get rid of the stink. Have 3 years off from you having to watch terrible Browns games on a Sunday. You can go and do something else and come back and maybe we'll be able to create a winning football team. I mean, at this
How,
point, the Browns don't have to make a choice to lose, right? I mean, they're not. I mean, they played the Saints, who are after the
hey,
first
the
2 weeks,
Saints are a
they
two
made
game.
they
Listen, the Saints are in a 2 game winning streak, and they're only 2 games out of first place in their division.
Saints are horrible, man. Come on, Saints are pitiful.
Hey. We only play good against the good teams. We've beaten the Ravens, and the Jaguars. So I guess we can't say that. But we've beaten the Ravens, which that was a terrible win, by the way, against the Jaguars. That's one of the 2 games you went. You get the teams that's not going to pass you because they're not winning another game this year. They gave up 52 points to your Detroit Lions.
My Lions are
Listen, I
it's
gotta tell you,
it's
my
okay.
dad are in a pick pool, and we're looking at the lines because we have to pick games against the teams against the line, and
Okay.
the Lions were favored by 14 points. And originally, I said 14 is too much. You got to go with Jacksonville. So that was like going down, and I said to my dad, I was like, you know what, Jacksonville's terrible. I said, Trevor Lawrence isn't playing. I know 14 points seems like a lot, but I said Detroit might score 50 on them, and then they scored 52. My dad sent me a text saying, "Do you want to pick some lottery numbers tonight?" So I
Look,
don't
man,
know.
the Lions are good, man. It is. I'll tell you what, like, I, and I maybe have talked about this slightly, but I've been honestly a lifelong Detroit Lions fan. Like, there's a picture of me at my house before I moved to Strongsville in a Detroit Lions helmet when I'm like 5 years old. So I have been a Detroit Lions fan my entire life. As I've always say, no one can ever accuse me of being a front running football fan because I root for the two worst franchises in NFL history in the Browns and the Lions. And to see the Lions as the Super Bowl favorite, which I think at this point they have to be, it is just bizarre. It was very bizarre last year in the NFC Championship game to see how close they were to actually making it to the Super Bowl. But to see them right now as the potential favorite to get to and win the Super Bowl is a very, very strange place for me to be as a Lions fan. So I'll take it. The Browns, on the other hand, I mean, whatever. They there's nothing to say. It's the same story over and over and over again. Like this team just, I don't know if shoots themselves in the foot is the right terminology, but they can't get out of their own way. They make poor decisions. They can't be good on both sides of the ball at the same time. They're just it's just a joke of a franchise. You can't like I don't believe anything.
All that said, Mike, are you watching the game on Thursday Night Football?
Yeah, I'll have it on. I'll have it on. But see that's why it just needs to go away. That's why the franchise just needs to go away. I'm just like you. I don't want to watch it. It's I don't know why. It's repeatedly going back and beating your head against the wall. Like there's part of me again. So right, being a Browns fan, I was thinking about this tonight during the Cavs game. So Cavs are 15-0, and every time they win a game, feel good. I'm like, oh, I'm so excited. It's great that the Cavs are winning. And then tonight, like as they're losing, like I'm mad. Like I hate the Celtics. I'm angry that the Cavs lost. Part of me's like, this is what it means to be a sports fan. Like part of me is like, why do we care about sports so much? It's just like it's crazy. And I was seriously thinking that as I'm watching the Cavs lose. I'm like, this just stinks, man. Because now I'm gonna have to go on the podcast and talk about the Celtics, and I just you get what I'm saying. And the Browns epitomize that for me as a sports fan because every year you're sucked in at the beginning of the season. And it takes me like 2 or 3 games before I'm like, this team's terrible. Like they should just lose so we can get a better draft pick. And then we'll draft somebody who's not going to be any good that is going to make me mad for the next 3 years until the guy's off our team. I mean, it's just they can't get out of their own way. I don't believe anything that they say. I don't believe anyone who tells me that they're going to be good. It's just they're just not. It's anytime you get sucked in, it's not true. It's just not true.
Yeah, listen. All I'm going to say is this. They should have kept Baker Mayfield. And I will fall on that sword. I will fall on the sword.
Okay, but so all right. I'll make the case for it and then I'll make the anti case for it. Is that all right? Or do you want to make the case for it?
Well, here's the case that not for it. He wouldn't be the player he is right now if he hadn't gotten let go. He was driven. With that chip on his shoulder, he wouldn't be the same guy. I completely understand that. But to take a guy who, by the way, was the only quarterback since probably Derek Anderson in 2007 that was embraced by the city of Cleveland. That the city of Cleveland loved Baker Mayfield in general. Can you name another quarterback other than Baker Mayfield and since between Baker Mayfield and Derek Anderson that any member of the fans loved as a quarterback?
Jeff Garcia.
He was before Derek Anderson, Mike.
Burjon Wynn.
Jeff Garcia was 2 years before Garcia. I'm pretty sure Garcia was the quarterback in 2000. I'm just saying you can't because there hasn't been anyone. And you had Baker Mayfield, who was beloved. And then you have the audacity to have Joe Flacco sitting right there. And I know he didn't have some good games in Indianapolis this year. But I honestly think that was the system that the coach is running the same offense with Joe Flacco as he was running with Anthony Richardson, and that's not going to work. Okay? You have the audacity after you have Joe Flacco take this team to the playoffs last year after the abysmal start that we had. Okay? You get Joe Flacco get to the playoffs, and then you're going to bend to the will of a guy who's had multiple lawsuits against him and does not want him to be the backup. Okay. And you're not going to sign this guy. You're going to get Jameis Winston. By the way, Jameis Winston, not the reason we lost the game on Sunday. Okay. 395 yards. I don't know the last Browns quarterback that threw for 395. I don't know if Flacco even threw for 395 last year. In the game, maybe one. I think maybe he crossed 400 one time in the game before the playoffs or something. But anyways, you have the audacity to leave Flacco. After the city embraced Flacco. They loved Flacco for the 6 weeks that we had him, or 8 weeks that we had him. They sold so many friggin' jerseys of Joe Flacco. And then you didn't. Then you wouldn't sign him for $5 million, but you paid the same amount of money for Jameis Winston, by the way, what they would have paid for Flacco. Listen, the ownerships are buffoons. The ownership. I'm not on the camp that Stefanski should be fired. I want to be clear here. I don't. Stefanski's dealt the hand that he's dealt. He's being told. I can't put this at Stefan. He literally won Coach of the Year last year because he took a team that was underperforming and turned it around and brought him back. 3 years ago, he won Coach of the Year. Stefanski's not to blame. He's gonna get the brunt of this. He's probably going to get fired in this season, Mike, and then he's gonna get hired somewhere else, and he's gonna do great things. There's no way around it. We spent way longer than 2 minutes on the Browns.
Wait, you were supposed to tell me why we were going to sign Baker Mayfield.
Because the city embraced him. That was where my point was, Mike. The city embraced him. We didn't have anyone else. There's not a single quarterback on that quarterback jersey. There's not been a single quarterback that the city has embraced. I mean, you could make the argument that Charlie Fry, people embrace Charlie Fry. Okay, Charlie Fry won like 4 games. Okay, we can't. They just like to dress in Fry costumes and stuff like McDonald's Fry costumes. They didn't actually like him as a player. He played for Akron. Sweepy-doo. You probably didn't like him because he played for Akron. Okay, but I don't know. I mean, the thing is this: they haven't had a quarterback that anyone embraced. They had Baker Mayfield sitting right there, and you went and traded for a guy that was eventually suspended, but so maligned and has been so pitiful. And I wish that I had a whole bunch of text message receipts from my friends who were so excited about Deshaun Watson being the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. But I don't know. There we go. Baker Mayfield, you should have signed him. I don't care. So you're saying that the move that they made was the better move?
Well, retrospectively,
no,
it's not. Obviously, it's not the better move in the moment. So look, I've said this a million times. Baker Mayfield tops out as a slightly above average quarterback, maybe. He never really showed much more than being a slightly above average quarterback. Now, could you win games with him? Sure. If you have a really good defense, if you have all the pieces around him, can he manage games and get you wins? Sure. Did he do that and win a game in the playoffs against the Steelers? Sure. Was he a guy who was driving winning? I would argue that the answer to that question was no. Can you win in the NFL? Can you win the Super Bowl in the NFL without a top 5? Maybe you can squeak down to the top 10, but I would argue mostly top 5 quarterback in the league. I don't think you can. Only if you have a historically great defense can you win with a quarterback who is not a top 5 quarterback in the league. Baker Mayfield was not, will not, and is never going to be a top 10, top 5 quarterback in the NFL. So moving on from him, I didn't have a huge problem with that. Now, when you look at Deshaun Watson, right, the argument against Deshaun Watson going into the signing is he hasn't played for whatever. He had been out for a full entire season, and obviously all the lawsuits and everything else. If the Cleveland Browns traded for Deshaun Watson or signed Deshaun Watson, and the Deshaun Watson who played for the Houston Texans for the last 3 years that he was in Houston, if the 3 seasons that he had been here were those 3 seasons that he had in Houston, clearly the signing would have made a ton of sense. Deshaun Watson was arguably a top 5 quarterback in the league for those final 3 seasons that he was in Houston. If Cleveland got that guy, now you have an opportunity to win. Did Cleveland get that guy? Absolutely not. Deshaun Watson has been horrendous as a player. I think he was horrendous in the locker room. I don't think there were very many players on this team who wanted to play for him. I don't think the coaching staff wanted him to play. To be honest, I don't think Deshaun Watson, based on his body language and his facial expressions and everything about him, I'm not sure Deshaun Watson wanted to play football for the Cleveland Browns. And so looking back, hindsight being 2020, sure, you'd rather have the Baker Mayfield experience than have the Deshaun Watson experience. But the reality is that when you look at it from a decision of what do you need to win at the highest level, the Deshaun Watson that they thought they were trading for, if that's the guy they would have gotten, that would have allowed them to have the type of quarterback play that's required in order to win a Super Bowl. And I don't think you were ever getting that with Baker Mayfield. And look, it didn't work. And now the franchise has been set back 5 years, 8 years, 3 years, whatever number of years you want to throw out there. The whole thing was an abject disaster. But the thought process in terms of what you need at the quarterback position, I think was correct because I just don't think Baker Mayfield was ever going to be a guy that was going to, he was never going to be better than a slightly above average quarterback. And look, I get the fact that the town embraced him and there's something to be said for that. But at a certain point, that only gets you so far. And this franchise has slapped the fan base in the face so many times that I don't, the franchise, the ultimately, if Deshaun Watson had been good, no one would have cared if Deshaun Watson, how many lawsuits he had against him, and nobody would have cared that Baker Mayfield's playing football in Tampa Bay. Nobody would have cared if Deshaun Watson was good. And the bottom line is he wasn't good. And that's what happened. I mean, I don't think the thinking was faulty, other than if you say this guy's just a bad guy and we shouldn't have signed him. I can agree with that. But if you just look at it strictly from a football perspective, the player that they thought they were getting didn't exist or doesn't exist anymore. It has never existed in Cleveland. So, but if they had gotten the guy from Houston, everything would have been fine.
All right. Fair enough, Mike. We agree to disagree. All right. Now we've gone.
We went an extra 12 minutes. It's all right, though. It's all good. It's all good. All right. Well, let's leave it there. We unfortunately had a dispiriting Cavs loss. Jason still is very, very upbeat on the Cavs' chances. I do think that tonight there was some things that you could point to. I'll leave it with I hate the Celtics. Sorry, any Celtics fans out there or fans of the Hoopheads podcast. My apologies, but I will continue to express my sports hate for the Boston Celtics as long as you listen to these NBA editions of the Hoopheads pod. So thanks for checking us out tonight, and we will catch you on our next episode. Thanks. All right. There we go.
So I was saying when you didn't have your headphones working, I saw Mac tonight because we played at Berea.
Okay.
And I go, and he goes, I heard Maz is getting way more, getting a lot of play time. And I said, yeah, I mean, last time I talked to Mike, he didn't know exactly where she was going to fall. How did it go this weekend? All right.
Yeah, I mean, we played we just played a preview, like a half against Aurora. Aurora was pitiful. So she played everybody. I mean, she played everybody. Madeline played I don't know, she played like 6 minutes, but she played all